Hi, this is a response to Veritasium's challenge, his riddles, and the first element is the rolling thingy, the rolling cylinder that stops and starts, and everybody has already proposed sand or water with baffles or a non-Newtonian fluid, so I thought I would offer an alternative here, which is one of those little sticky balls, and so you see it does the same thing. And of course, another option would be like a small rodent, or I'm sure you could get a lot more complicated mechanisms such as a pendulum type thing or some sort of one-way metronome. But anyway, on to number 2. Second is the bike pulling with a string pedal thingy. That's the title, right? Yeah. So the question is, what will the bike do when you pull on it? And I think this one is a lot simpler than people are trying to make it out to be, because basically the bike can't move forward unless it pulls you forward, and it's not going to pull you forward because you have a lot more traction than it does. I mean, I guess if you're wearing roller skates or something, you might be able to come up with some kind of scenario where it may work otherwise. But yeah, as you see here, you're just pulling the bike backwards. So, and if anything, the tire would skid. And if you brace it and it's balanced, you could make it do a wheelie, but that's about the best you could do. And so I suppose you could get the back wheel to go forward. For the 2 laps and total average speed thingy, he says specifically the total average speed for both laps combined. And it seems like a lot of people in the comments were getting confused by this, because normally when you average something, you just, add up however many and you divide by the number of them. But with speed is distance over time. And so in order to double your speed, you have to either double the distance traveled in the same amount of time, or you have to half the amount of time for the same distance traveled. And so when you're doing 2 laps, so the first lap you do in, say, 1 minute, in order to double your average speed, you would have to do 2 laps in 1 minute, which is, because you're doubling your distance, that is not a variable in this thing. You're doubling your distance, so you have to do it in the same amount of time as, your first lap. So yeah, it cannot be done. It is impossible. And a lot of people have said that you'd have to do the second lap at 3 times the speed of the first lap. But if you work this out, your total average speed then is 1 minute for the first lap and 20 seconds, a third of that, for the second lap. So that's 80 seconds. You divide that by 2. That's 40 seconds per lap. That is not half the speed. You'd have to go 30 seconds per lap to do that. And so that is not possible. So a lot of people have had problems with the average thing, and we're arguing about that and stuff. So I thought I'd try to make another example that would make it simpler. Say you move, 1 meter in a year, and then for 1 second, you run as fast as you can. Is your average speed over that whole time your half of your running speed, or is it pretty much almost zero? Does that make it more obvious? Okay. And the last item is the train, and the part of the train that moves backwards all the time when the train is moving forward. And he even said it's a regular train, so there's no trick trains, and it's not some mechanical arm attached to the wheels from the 1800s. This is not, the Old West. We're not talking about those trains. And the one part that moves backwards is on the wheels, and you have to look at the shape of the wheels on the train, because on the sides, on the outside, there's a little piece that sticks out farther that goes below the rail to keep the train from falling off sideways. Otherwise, the train would just slip off the rail sideways. And so that piece is actually wider than the wheel that goes to the ground, and so it spins, the outside of it moves at a faster rate. And so if we exaggerate that ratio, and you can see that here with this graphic, you exaggerate the ratio, and obviously the outside is going backwards while the other side is going forward. And that is all my answers to that, and hope that was helpful and enjoyable. And thanks.